Hello DC fans and welcome back to Nerd Doc. Blue Beetle is now in theaters, which means it's time to break down the ending, the post-credit scenes, and important plot details. There will be spoilers for Blue Beetle in this video. This is your spoiler warning. There are chapter timestamps so you can jump around the video as you wish. If you have any questions or just want to give us your own thoughts on the film, leave a comment below. As a reminder, the movie is still in theaters so we can only use footage from the trailers. Please bear with us there. Blue Beetle is a fairly typical origin story. The movie takes place in Palmera City, Texas, which is similar to Metropolis or Gotham in reference to Superman and Batman respectively. Of note, Batman, Superman, and The Flash are all mentioned in the film, but nothing about the specific actors. This allows James Gunn to use this Blue Beetle in the new DC universe, which he has already confirmed he has plans to do. However, we don't know if it will continue this specific story or reset the story as needed to align with Superman Legacy and the rest of the new DC universe. The story in Blue Beetle focuses around an alien artifact known as the Scarab. In the comics, the Scarab is a powerful device from the Reach alien empire. The Scarab is sentient and goes by the name Khaji-Da, who chooses who it will bond with. The opening credits of the movie show the history of the Scarab and how it was discovered by archaeologist Dan Garrett. In the comics, Garrett was the very first Blue Beetle from both the Golden Age and the Silver Age. His student and successor is Ted Kord, who was the second Blue Beetle. However, he was not chosen by Khaji-Da and instead created the Blue Beetle tech on his own, very similar to Bruce Wayne and Batman. Most of the comic origins of Blue Beetle are the same or very similar between the movie and the comics. However, there are some big differences. In the original comics, Ted Kord's father, Thomas Kord, was the third-generation CEO of Kord Industries. But in the movie, he was the one who founded the company with his daughter, Victoria Kord. Vicky was originally a new character created just for the film, but they added her to the comics back in February as well. In addition, Ted Kord has no children in the comics, but in the movie he has a daughter, Jenny Kord. Victoria Kord is the main villain of the film, who essentially turns evil when her father dies and passes his company, Kord Industries, onto Vicky's brother Ted, instead of leaving it to Vicky, who originally helped found the company. It's partially implied that this was because Thomas Kord knew Vicky was already evil. Eventually, Ted Kord, the second Blue Beetle, mysteriously disappears, so Victoria takes over the company, while Jenny Kord is left with a seat on the board. Victoria ends up finding the Scarab buried on Pago Island near Cuba. This island has significance in the Blue Beetle comics as it was the base of operations for Jarvis Kord, Ted Kord's evil uncle. However, Jarvis Kord is not a character in the movie, so it becomes the base of operations for Victoria Kord instead. Vicky can't unlock the full power of the Scarab because she wasn't selected as a host, but she takes it back to Kord Industries and uses some of its power to create OMAC suits, which are military-grade exosuits. Jenny disapproves of this and steals the Scarab, handing it off to Jaime Reyes for safekeeping, who the Scarab then selects as its next host. Jenny eventually takes Jaime to her father's abandoned estate, and down to the secret basement laboratory where several classic Blue Beetle suits are shown, with one of them missing. Jaime's uncle, Rudy Reyes, another original character created just for the movie, is a bit of an unorthodox tech guru and starts accessing the computer in Ted Kord's laboratory to help Jenny and Jaime. Victoria eventually attacks Jaime's family in order to draw him out and take the Scarab. This attack causes Jaime's father to die of a heart attack and destroys their generational home. Victoria uses her right-hand man, Lieutenant Carapax, to subdue Jaime and take him back to her lab on Pago Island. While Carapax is a character from the comics, he was originally an enemy of Ted Kord, not Jaime Reyes. He also got his suit from what remained of Jarvis Kord's laboratory. In the movie, he was forced to fight in the conflicts that occurred in Guatemala, losing his mother to those conflicts at a very young age. When he was a bit older, he was gravely injured during a conflict, and Victoria Kord saved him by providing him with an early version of the OMAC suit and erasing his memory so that he was loyal to her. The movie ends with the entire Reyes family getting tech from Ted Kord's old laboratory and heading to Pago Island in the bug ship in order to free Jaime. Jaime and the Scarab are symbiotic, which means the only way to remove the Scarab from Jaime's body is to kill him. Victoria Kord doesn't care if Jaime lives or dies, all she wants to do is download and transfer the code from the Scarab to her OMAC suits. What this essentially means is that she needs the genetic makeup of the Scarab suit so that she can replicate it within her OMAC suits. Think of it like copying the source code for Tony Stark's nanobots that make up his more advanced Iron Man suits. During this process, Hime nearly dies, but he sees a vision of his father telling him to embrace his destiny and fully accept the symbiote. Now, you can speculate that this was the alien symbiote's doing, because it caused them to become fully symbiotic instead of Hime fighting against Kajida as he was doing throughout most of the film. Either way, the experience essentially merges them into one being, allowing Hime to control the suit much better and preventing him from dying during the transfer process. The transfer is still able to complete, leading to a confrontation between Blue Beetle and Lieutenant Carapax, now wearing an OMAC suit completely upgraded with Blue Beetle tech. At one point during the fight, it seems as though Uncle Rudy is killed by Carapax, although he does end up surviving in the end. Blue Beetle wins the fight and is ready to kill Carapax for what was done to his family and the presumed death of his Uncle Rudy. However, Kajida stops Hime from killing Carapax, who then turns on Vicky. What basically happened here is that during the initial transfer of the Blue Beetle code, Kajida unlocked Carapax's lost memories. This is what allowed him to turn against Vicky after Hime spared his life. This is also further evidence that Hime and Kajida are essentially merged, because for most of the film, Hime refused to allow Kajida to kill anyone. This time, the roles are reversed, with Kajida stopping Hime from killing Carapax. For whatever reason, Vicky had the Blue Beetle source code on a single tablet as well as Carapax's OMAC suit. It wasn't uploaded to the cloud or transferred anywhere else, because why would someone with super advanced technology do anything like back up the most important piece of code they've ever obtained? Anyway, while Vicky is holding Jenny Cord hostage during this whole fight, Jenny is able to escape using her father's tech and ends up destroying Vicky's tablet. This is followed by Lieutenant Carapax sacrificing himself, causing his suit to self-destruct while he's sitting right next to Vicky, killing both of them and effectively destroying any trace of the Blue Beetle code Vicky had in her possession. Shortly after the conclusion of the fight, the Reyes go back to their destroyed home and their neighbors come together to celebrate their return, while Hime's grandmother picks up a sapling from a plant that his father planted when they first moved to Palmyra. She proudly declares that they can now start over, implying that just as the original plant grew with the family, so will this new sapling grow with their new home, once it's rebuilt by Jenny Cord, who is now the new CEO of Cord Industries. Hime and Jenny finally kiss, then fly off to Jenny's dad's estate as the credits begin to roll. There's also a mid-credit scene and a post-credit scene for Blue Beetle. The mid-credit scene shows the Cord laboratory in the basement of Cord Estate, where all the classic Blue Beetle suits were seen earlier in the movie. The computer terminal clicks on with a scrambled message from Ted Cord. Thanks to Uncle Rudy messing with the computer earlier, it has allowed Ted Cord, the previous Blue Beetle, to get a message through telling whoever activated the computer that he's alive. That's right, Ted Cord, the previous Blue Beetle, is alive and presumably well. It seemed obvious that the missing Blue Beetle suit from earlier in the film was the one Ted Cord disappeared with. It also wouldn't be surprising to discover that Victoria Cord, his sister, had something to do with his disappearance. Ted Cord disappeared when Jenny was only 8 years old, which means someone has been keeping him alive and captive all this time. That someone was probably working for Victoria Cord to keep Ted out of the way so that she could take over Cord Industries. If there is eventually a Blue Beetle sequel that continues this story instead of starting over with a new DC universe, it's very likely we'll see Ted Cord return as the previous Blue Beetle. The second credit scene is a popular Mexican live-action TV show known commonly as El Chapulin. The full name of the show was El Chapulin Colorado, which in English roughly translates to the red grasshopper or cherry cricket. The show aired on Mexican television in Latin America, as well as in Spain, from 1973 to 1979 as a superhero parody of sorts. It eventually came back as an animated series in 2015, and a live-action film was announced back in 2020. It also had a number of comic books throughout the years. Given the naming similarities between Red Grasshopper and Blue Beetle, as well as El Chapulin considered by most to be the first Mexican superhero, many closely associate the two characters. Putting El Chapulin in the Blue Beetle movie is a direct nod to Mexican culture and its superheroes, and something that basically almost had to be included. It pops up during the movie in addition to this post-credit scene. So what did you think of Blue Beetle? Do you think James Gunn should reset the story for the new DC universe, or just continue on from here? What about the changes from the comics to the movie, and the inclusion of El Chapulin? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. For now, that wraps up this video. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with someone who loves Cobra Kai.